watched Majority Report earlier. They made a reference about Michael Brooks. I guess it was the thing he did on the show, talking about the passive, aggressive, progressive. Talking about Jimmy Dore and how Jimmy Dore, his type of politics is kind of like you know adversarial and kind of angry, and some of the things he says make sense, but it's just attack. I have to say, it bothers me. It bothers me that the stuff Michael said 5 years ago, 2 years ago, that it still remains relevant. Now he said it about Jimmy Dore like 2 years ago. He passed in June 22nd this year, 2020. It bothers me that he talked about the Iran thing. I was listening to today, the fascist psyche, and there's elements of that crisis that are still relevant today. That should not be. And I'm just catching RT News. They're talking about some sort of a deal that the some top American general made with the Taliban, and I guess it just bothers me that they were context. They're saying just like back then in Vietnam with the North Koreans, same to today with the Taliban. It bothers me that this imperialistic nation, like things don't change. Like, okay, so maybe we'll have a black transgender president one day. Maybe we'll have rainbow drones. It'll still be the same empire. And it's like Hassan talks about how he was talking about earlier today about how beating black people up on Black Lives Matter Avenue, that they'll give black people stuff that is of no value, and black people will take it, and then these conservatives get angry about the little bit that we've been given that doesn't really mean anything, that nothing has changed. They're angry about any type of change though, which that's what conservatives do. But it just like I don't want my videos to be relevant when I'm dead. Like I wouldn't want somebody to come along and watch my videos like 20 years from now, 30 years, 50 years from now, and the shit be relevant. Like, we're, as progressives, we're supposed to progress, and the world that we're fighting for we may not see. That's fine. But if we're just gonna sit around and talk, it's just, that bothers me. And that bothers me in a way that I had never really thought about before. I don't like that. I don't like it that Michael Brooks, the beautiful thing. Because look. I love Michael Brooks because Michael Brooks put forward a conceptual understanding of the left. When he talks about how the left, we should not go off into escapism and fantasy. He talked at the Lafayette speech when he talked about how, hey, I don't want us to be a subculture. We should be the pre-culture. I don't like when he talked about just different kind of political things. That's relevant. He's talking about the future of the left. That's relevant. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you look at news stories that he talked about 2 years ago, and then you look at the world outside your window, and it's the same, like that at a core basis, that bothers me, man. I don't want to believe his labors were in vain. I don't want to believe that we're just talking. When he talks about not allowing socialism to be a plaything for the rich, I hear him on direct. I hear him 100 and 110% that these protests and the movement cannot devolve into corporate stuff, into PR politics, is what he was saying. that, into like, oh, you shouldn't be racist. No, we shouldn't let it, devolve into something like that. And they'll give us stuff that's of no value, and we believe, okay, the movement got us this. No, it didn't. The one thing about America is they always give you a little bit here and there. They give you enough to keep going because they know they can give you. They just give you enough to get on by, to keep the society going at the last minute. It's like a dude paying his bills at the last minute. Just paying a little bit to keep the lights on. Yeah, it just bothers me, man. I want to believe that Michael was a person that put society forward, that he brought a lot of people forward. There's a lot of people I would have known about without Michael Brooks. Ben Burgess, Adolph Reed, Professor Wolf. I didn't know who he was. Yeah, Professor Wolf. Hold on a second. Yeah, Chapo Trap House. There's a couple others I'm thinking about. I slipped my mind, but it's a lot of people that he brought to the forefront. That's great because I think Michael united the left. I think Michael's thing was not wanting the left to fight. That we should love one another, and that we should recognize that we face a much bigger threat. It's more important than who you sleep with or who you all that stuff. No, you're focused on things that doesn't matter, and I loved him for that. That he wanted to unite us and focus on and he talked one time about how he wanted to be my Republican Party. And I didn't get it then. I get it now. The Republican Party understood what they want. They understand what they want, what's at stake, who's their victory, who's their friends, who's their allies, and who their enemy is. The left doesn't, we don't do that. We got people, sorry ass motherfuckers like Nancy Pelosi. We just, I don't know, man. It just bothered me to read that. To look at, Michael talked about the Guatemalan thing. Oh, Operation Condor and the Atlas Network and stuff. That's the real New World Order. That the Atlas Network is a right-wing consortium, right-wing groups all over the world. They put their money together, and that's a lot of it's funding elections in Latin America and funding stuff. That's the real New World Order. And I just, like I said, I don't want my words to have that kind of lasting effort, and I hope his don't either. I would love it to where the things Michael talked about one day are irrelevant because we're already living in that world. You understand? Where it's like you watch it and some kid watches it, it's like, yeah, we already have that. That's the world I want. I don't want. Michael talked about Novara Media. He was on there one time. He talked about how the mass of people will come to our side because the future will get so horrific. I don't want that. I don't think he did either. I was in Acceleration. I was Accelerations. I was. Accelerations is somebody that believes that basically I've got to let you destroy yourself. That we should allow Republicans to get in office and run a free market government and run it so horribly that people get hurt by it. And they no longer want that. Like Nixon, baby. Nobody wants that kind of stuff, that aggression and stuff. I now believe that's wrong. I believe that when the right goes right, when the Republicans go right, the left go right along with them. That's what Joe Biden is, and Michael talked about that. I now believe that, and that's terrifying. I don't want that. Thank you for listening.